open mind and try finishing this paper, and that's about it. And after that, nobody's going to ask you anything for quite some time, and you can give yourself a good break after this examination. Okay, so without wasting a lot of time, let's quickly get into what I want to discuss with you. So it's a IDT is a 100 marks paper. Okay, 30 marks is MCQs. So please concentrate, and 30 marks would mean as as high as one third of your paper is MCQs. And if you are able to finish that in half an hour, okay, or 40 minutes, that means you have extra time to solve the balance 70 marks paper. Okay, so but don't be in a hurry to finish MCQs. Read it thoroughly, and based on your reading once, twice, or thrice, then answer. There are no negative marks for MCQs, so try to attempt even if you don't know. Please attempt, especially when it is objective type questions. Whatever is the likely answer, just give those answers. Okay. Now, as far as marks bifurcation is concerned, GST definitely has the highest marks allotment, 75 marks. Then customs is 25 marks, and FTP is 5 marks. And I'm sure you are well aware that it is not that one question of 25 marks will be for customs and 5 marks GST will FTP will be a separate section. It is a mix and match. So the same question, right? You might have, one second, there's a chat. Okay. The same question might have the question on GST as well as the question on FTP and on customs. So be careful about it. Okay. And go through each and every topic. It's little late in the day, but don't but ensure that you have covered all the topics instead of keeping in mind that I am not going to read customs or FTP, because like we will observe in the subsequent slides, a lot of portions of customs which was not relevant, which was very difficult to understand, has been removed. Okay. Now, multiple choice questions, you would have seen very difficult options are sometimes given, like the photo which has been displayed on your presentation. Okay. What I would like to mention here is that go by elimination. So if there are 4 options and you feel 1 or 2 is not at all the answer, like a question which involves IGST tax to be computed, and there are 2 options with CGST and SGST, rule that out, because anyways that will not never be the answer. Okay. Now of the 2, if you are not able to understand, at least your probability is now 50% right answer, right? So please go with elimination method if you are not sure about the answers. Okay. Second important thing is, please read the question till the end, because you will observe that same questions which are solved in the classroom, same question which is there in the study material, which same question which is there in RTP also appears in the question paper. But the point is, in the question paper, they are asking, in the RTP or in the study material, the question was find out the value of goods supplied. But in your question paper, the question would be find out the tax payable. Okay, so there could be a question on what is the input tax credit eligible, and in examination the question could be what is the credit which can be utilized for payment of tax, right? So please read the question. The numbers will be same, the numbers might be same, the example could be same, the question and the people in that question could be same, the adjustments could be same, but the expectation of the answer could be really very different. So please read the question very carefully. Okay. And there are a lot of cases where the question may not be complete. Okay. Or there might be 2 ways of reading that question. Okay, in that case, it would be better if you write an assumption. Now, assumption is required only when there is an issue in the problem, that is, it can be read in 2 ways, or without that assumption, the question cannot be solved. But if that doubt is in your mind, then don't write an assumption. It is not that when I have a doubt in my mind that I have to write an assumption. It is that the question itself has some doubts, or the law can be interpreted in 2 different ways, and hence you are expected to write a assumption. Otherwise, don't write a assumption. Okay. Fourth, you would have seen a lot of cases, especially in your study material, where if there are any valuation related problems, okay, and if there is any additional adjustment, the doubt always is whether these are inclusive of taxes or exclusive of taxes. Classic cases, interest for delayed payment of consideration. Now, if you look at section 15, such interest has to be added to the value for the purpose of computation of tax. Okay, but now whether that interest is inclusive of tax or exclusive of tax, a few questions say that all these amounts are exclusive of tax, or a few questions say all these amounts are including of tax. but there are a lot of questions where this inclusive or exclusive of tax is silent. So what you have to do there is, then you will have to make an assumption, and majority of the cases the assumption is the amount is inclusive of tax. Okay, and then you work back. So the value divided by 118 multiplied by 100 becomes the value, and divided by 118 multiplied by 18 becomes the tax. Okay, then there are a lot of questions, again valuation related, again what to add, what to not to add, whether you can take the credit on this, whether you cannot take the credit on this. Okay, whether it is a CGST SGST transaction, whether it is a IGST transaction, whether it is a forward charge or a reverse charge. In all these questions, what is very important is not just to add 1 plus 1 and write the answer is 2, but also say that why you added 1 to 1, meaning the reason of why it was forming part of a taxable turnover, why something is not forming part of a taxable turnover. Okay, right? For example, they say there is a chartered accountant who is rendering services, please compute the taxable turnover, and they've given his statutory audit fees, his legal services, what he for which he has billed. Okay, and third, rents, residential rent which he is receiving. Okay, car which he has sold, and interest income. So for each of the 5 you will have to give a reasoning. The first 2 cases there is no exemption. Renting of residential complex, okay, it is exempt under notification 12 of 2017. Interest is exempt under 12 of 2017. Car which was used for the purpose of business has been sold, and if it is not a personal asset, okay, then that also you are required to pay tax. So everywhere give either the reference to the provision or a reasoning, so that you can explain the examiner why have you added something or why you have subtracted something. Okay, this holds good even in customs, because we would see in a lot of cases where problems are asked and you have to either add something or subtract something to find out the assessable value on which customs duty is required to be paid. Here again, I would suggest you to either refer the provisions or at least give a reasoning of why you added something or subtracted something. Okay, now setting off of CGST, SGST, IGST, very important, because any computation problems on CS and I will have this adjustment. First, please ensure that I becomes 0. So I will go against IGST credit will be set off against IGST liability. Balance can be set off against CGST also or SGST also. The ideal situation will be to set off 50% against CGST and 50% against SGST. Okay, then come to CGST. CGST can be set off against CGST only and then goes to IGST. And once CGST is set off against C and I, then you go to SGST. First set of SGST against SGST, and if there is any balance credit left and IGST as a liability, it goes against IGST. This sequence is really very important. Compensation cess can be adjusted only against compensation cess, and it cannot be adjusted against IGST or any other taxes. Okay, then your RTP, right, has a lot of circulars which were recently issued. If you have gone through them, then very good. If you have not gone through as of now, or the statutory update material, just the circulars, whenever you have 10-15 minutes time, just go through those circulars, because a lot of circulars were issued last year, that is this current year. Okay, and these are very important circulars which helps us in understanding few basic concepts of GST. So please go through, like on liquor license, on that 7,500 residential welfare association, on hotel industry. So a lot of circulars were issued. Please go through these circulars which are part of the RTP. Okay, then even rule 43, this is reversal on capital goods, very complex, very difficult. Even for a chartered accountant member, it is really very difficult to understand what rule 43 is. But in RTP, there's a very simple and a very interesting problem which has been given. Please go through that. Don't work out. Okay, just go through that just to understand the concept, just in case that same question is asked in the examination, or maybe a little variation of that, because all permutation combination of rule 43 has been covered in that. Just go through that. That will be very interesting and help you in understanding how rule 43 actually works. Okay, then exemptions, none of us read. Even I don't remember all the exemptions. Nobody remembers. I at least I don't know anybody who remembers all the exemptions. Okay, so nobody reads it, but nobody remembers it. But the point is, I have seen a lot of questions which are being asked on exemptions. So what I would suggest is, go through the exemptions. Don't try to remember those. Don't try to by heart those. Just go through those exemptions. Okay, and exemptions could be broken up into two: value-based exemptions, and majority of the questions are asked on these value-based exemptions, which are say a ticket sale less than 500 rupees, or a GTA less than 750 or 1,500 rupees, hotel rooms not exceeding 1,000. So earlier it was 999, now it has got to 1,000. Up to 1,000 rupees exemption. Anything beyond that, then on the entire value tax is applicable. So if the value is 1,500, then on 1,500 tax is applicable. But if it is 999 or 1,000, there is no tax. Okay, so the 999 became 1,000 rupees. Okay, government services, each of the service not exceeding 5,000 rupees, exemption is there. Residential Welfare Association contribution up to 7,500 is exempt. If any contribution in excess of 7,500, then the entire amount is taxable. So assuming that the Residential Welfare Association is collecting from the members 9,000 rupees, then because it is more than 7,500, the tax is applicable not on 9,000 minus 7,500, it is applicable on the entire 9,000 rupees. Okay, performing artist, the exemption limit is up to 1,50,000, and this exemption is applicable only for cultural activities, not for any other activities. Right? Government and legal services which are liable to tax under reverse charge mechanism, if the recipient's turnover is less than 20 lakhs, even though he is registered, they are not required to pay taxes on the same. Okay, so these are some value-based exemptions which you have to remember, because a lot of questions or exemptions are asked on this. Right? Apart from that, there are end-use exemption, end-user-based exemption. Okay, which has incidental to agriculture, government services. If it is pure services, exempt. If it is a transaction which involves only 25% goods, okay, it is not a pure service, but it involves only 25% goods, even then exemption will be available. Education services up to 12 standard, then above 12 standard, it leads to a degree recognized by law for the time being enforced. Hospital services in the form of clinical establishments providing services to a patient, a medical tax practitioner, authorized medical practitioner providing hospital services to a patient, or healthcare services to a patient. All these are exempt. Okay, and interest, obviously we know, other than credit card or delay payment charges relating to credit card are exempt from GST. Okay, now very easy to remember the sections in GST. Before that, supply, we will go through the definition of supply. Section 7 talks about what is the definition of supply. 8 talks about composite and mixed supply. Composite supply, whatever is the principal supply, anything incidental to that will also be liable to tax at the rate of that principal supply only. Mixed supply, where a single price point is there for multiple supplies, that is called a mixed supply. And section 9 is a charging section for levy of tax on supply. Okay, now what is supply? Definition that's been broken into 3 parts: 7.1a, b and c. A talks about supply for consideration in the course of business. 7.1b, supply for consideration whether or not in the course of business relating to import of services. 7.1c, supply not for consideration referred to in schedule 1, where we have distinct persons, employee, employer, related party transaction, permanent disposal of asset on which input tax credit has been claimed. So all these things, right? Okay, then we have section 9.1, which talks about forward charge, where I am required to pay tax as a supplier of service. 9.2, where on petroleum products there is no tax, and 9.3 and 9.4, where there is reverse charge mechanism, and 9.5, where e-commerce operators are required to pay taxes. Okay, then we have 3 schedules in GST. Schedule 1, supply without consideration, okay, which is referred to in 7.1c. Then schedule 2 is classification. It helps us in identifying what is goods, what is services. Okay, and schedule 3, which tells us what is neither goods nor services, like sale of goods, sale of warehouse goods, sale of goods before the bill of entry for home consumption is filed, sale of goods before they enter into India, sale of goods from one country to another country without they entering into India. Okay, and actionable claims other than betting, gambling, and lottery. Services by an employee to the employer in the course of employment. All these are covered under Schedule 3. Okay. Now, this is a list of all the services which are liable to tax under reverse charge mechanism. The only thing which I want you to highlight here, to observe here, is what I wanted to highlight is, if you observe, the service recipient can be different persons. Okay. So if you observe here, government services itself, for one service it is business entity, for other service it is registered person. Okay, and when you see security services, the person providing the service is person other than body corporate, but the person receiving services in case of security services is registered person, who can be an individual also. In case of renting of your property, renting of motor vehicle, it could be a body corporate, so which is a company. So the point what I'm trying to highlight here is that please observe who is the recipient. Okay, who is the recipient? Based on that, we have to decide whether RCM is applicable or not. Okay, then very important chart here. The registration limit under GST is 10 lakhs for MMTN. Okay, Mizoram, Manipur, Tripura, Nagaland. For them, the GST threshold limit for registration is 10 lakh. Okay, whereas for all the other states, it is 20 lakhs. Okay, then a need was felt to increase this 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, because they thought that for services 20 lakhs is good, but for goods let it be 40 lakhs. Okay, so just for goods, where the person is only doing intrastate supplies and not dealing in notified goods. Notified goods are those goods which are restricted even under composition scheme. What are those? Aerated water, ice cream, corn masala, and tobacco. If you're not dealing in these and you're making only intrastate supplies, and the state has issued notification to increase the limit from 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, then the limit for registration is 40 lakhs. This is applicable to all states other than special category states. We will discuss what is special category states, and Puducherry and Telangana. So all the states like Karnataka. Okay, Karnataka, if you are dealing only in goods and not notified goods and only an intrastate supply, then the threshold limit is 40 lakh rupees, not 20 lakh rupees. Okay, then 50 lakhs is notification 2 of 2019, where a service provider who is not entitled to composition scheme can pay taxes at the rate of 6%. Okay, then 75 lakhs is composition scheme for taxpayers under the special category states. Now, what is the special category states? It is applicable for both 40 lakhs and 75 lakhs. SAT, Triple M, UN, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, Uttarakhand, and Nagaland. So these guys will have a threshold limit of 75 lakhs for opting under composition scheme. Okay, and then balance states, the threshold limit for composition scheme is 1.5 crores. So I will repeat again, threshold limit for exemption is 20 lakhs, but 10 lakhs for MMTN and 40 lakhs for all the states other than special category states and Puducherry, Telangana for goods. Okay, 50 lakhs is for notification 2 of 2019, where 6% rate can be opted for. Now 75 and 1.5 crores is regular composition scheme. 75 lakhs is for special category states and 1.5 crores for all the other states. Okay, then how to remember the sections or provisions relating to GST? All the sections come in group of 3. Time of supply 12, 13, 14. 12 for goods, 13 for services, and 14 for change in rate of tax. ITC available 16, not available 17. Special circumstances where credit is available 18. Registration liable to be registered 22, not registered, not liable for registration 23, and special category 24. Okay, goods notifications and services notification, rate notification 1 and 11, exemption notification 2 and 12, RCM notification 4 and 13. Okay, there's one notification which they have missed. Ideally they should have made it 3 is some other notification. So 4 and 13. Okay, valuation 1. 15.1 is what you mean by value of supply, that is transaction value if price is sole consideration and parties are not related. Okay, 15.2, what should be included in the transaction value to arrive at the value of supply, which includes subsidy, which includes interest, which includes incidental expenses incurred, okay, by the supplier. 4th, incidental expenses which are required to be incurred by the supplier but incurred by the recipient. Okay, taxes other than GST. And 3, excludes. Excludes is discount. There are few circulars issued on discount. Please have a look at those. So circular one discount is on the bill discount. Second is off the bill discount. On the bill discount, no doubt at all. 100 rupees minus 10 rupees on the invoice itself, taxes to be paid on 90. But when can an off the bill discount in the form of credit note be issued? Only when the agreement is signed or a scheme has been announced and communicated to the recipient, and the credit note can be linked to this invoice. Only then the discount can be given. Okay, so that circular is very important. 1+1 scheme. Okay, expired stock, what to do, gift given at the time of Diwali. So all that is covered in the circular. Please go through that. Okay, then composition scheme section 10, 1% for manufacturers, 5% for restaurant owners, 1% for others goods, 6% for others services. Okay, then place of supply, this is IGST sections. So place of supply in case of goods, it is 10 if it is within India transaction. Import and export is 11. Services, if one of both the parties are in India, section 12. If one of the parties are outside India, then section 13 will apply. So this provision, the last part is only IGST section. These are the most important sections in GST based on which majority of the questions will be asked. So please remember these. This will help you in the examination. Okay. Then now we briefly touch upon the Customs Act also. Computation of typical questions asked in customs. Okay, computation of assessable value. There, what do? You have to compute. So again, very important. Please be aware of what the question is all about. Are they asking for assessable value or they are asking for the customs duty computation? Okay, if it is assessable value, we have to arrive at CIF. Now, how do you arrive at cost, insurance, and freight? FOB value plus freight plus insurance. If freight is unknown, then 20% of FOB value is treated as as freight. But where air freight is given and air freight is above 20% of FOB, it has to be restricted to 20% only. So if, say, assuming the FOB value of goods is $100, okay, and it is coming through a ship and the freight is given as $25, then the freight will be $25 only. But if air freight is given as $25, it will be restricted to $20. And when freight is not given at all, by default, whether it is air or whether it is ship, it is assumed to be 20%. Okay. Now, next is insurance. Insurance, whatever is given is taken. If the insurance is not given, that is, they say it is not ascertainable, there will be 1.125% of the FOB value. Right. These are all statutory assumptions which have already been given in the law. Okay. One common adjustment in case of computation of assessable value for computation of GST, for computation of customs duty, is buying commission paid by the importer. So Indian pays the buying commission, who is the importer, you don't have to add. But commission paid to the local agent by the exporter, if the exporter pays the commission, that has to be included. Okay, by default. Why, what, all those time is gone. Remember this for your examination because this is typical as example which is asked. Okay, computation of customs duty. Remember, there are three duties which you have to add: BCD, social welfare surcharge, and IGST. So BCD is computed on a CIF value, assuming it is 10%. So CIF value multiplied by 10% will be BCD. Social welfare surcharge is 10% of BCD. So if BCD is 100 multiplied by 10, which is 10 rupees, then social welfare surcharge is 10 into 10%, which is 1%. Okay, and IGST is computed on CIF value plus social welfare surcharge, sorry, basic custom duty plus social welfare surcharge. So all the three put together, right? Okay. Then computation of exchange rate. If the money, all the transactions are given in dollars, how to find out the exchange rate? Okay, RBI rate, CBIC rate, or some other third-party website. It will always be CBIC rate only. Okay, not RBI rate, not a third-party website. It will always be CBIC rate. And if it is import of goods, it will be the date of presentation of bill of entry. If it is export of goods, the day when the approval for dispatch of goods is given by the customs, or loading of goods is given by the customs. Okay, customs duty rate. If the rate keeps changing, today it was 10, tomorrow it is 20, then thumb rule on import of goods by whatever means, it could be vessel, it could be aircraft, anything. It is date of entry inward or date of filing of bill of entry, whichever is later. Okay, if it is export of goods, date of LET, that is let export order. Okay, let the export happen. When the officer allows for loading of goods, that is the date on which customs duty rate has to be applied. Right. Also, there are few syllabus which are out of topic, there are few topics which are out of syllabus for you now for this batch or from this batch. Demand recovery and appeal provisions relating to customs and warehousing provisions relating to customs. These were really very boring, and good that this has been removed. So you don't have to read all these topics at all. Right. So with this, I finish my short session on what are the important topics of GST and customs. I hope I have done justice to the precious time which you have spent on this session. If you have any questions other than subject, or if you just want to speak anything, feel free to talk. Otherwise, we'll close this session. And also, the link to the feedback form has been given. Please fill this so that we can understand, have we been able to cater to your requirements, and if there is anything specific which we have to take care of, then we will take care of that in the future sessions. So please fill this feedback form, which will be really helpful for us. Hi Vaibhav, you can unmute and speak to me, or you can type, whatever is convenient for you.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Vaibhav.
Good evening. Good, sir. How are
How
you,
is the
sir?
preparation?
It's full on, sir. It's going.
Very
And
good.
I really loved your session. It was amazing, actually.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Anything to ask or all okay?
All okay, sir.
Okay. Good, good, good. Anything else? Devi Prasad, Kishore, Dhanush, Wali, Rakesh.